Hey, my name is Samar. I also go by Sam or First Time Panner. Any of those you want to call me, you can. This will be a video inspired by Steph from It's Just Steph. She does those videos that are like, I would declutter these if I could get my money back. I don't remember if she's done these on only eyeshadow palettes or if she's done them on like everything in general. I'm specifically doing mine on just makeup in general, plus I have one fragrance that I'll be talking about, but everything else is makeup. These are all, and I'll also link her videos, as many as I can find, in the description box, so go check hers out. But these will just be products that I don't dislike enough to declutter. Like, I can still find a way to use them. And I'm not like hate panning these, but they're products that like if I could get my money back on these products, like I could return them for a full refund, I would do that in a heartbeat, because these are either like just regret purchases, impulse buys that didn't work out, or they're just things that I no longer want to use. And I filled an entire box of stuff. So we have a long video, so get some snacks, get something to drink, and let's just start with my only fragrance that I'll be talking about. This is the Replica Jazz Club, and I just got this in a travel size. I can't remember exactly what the notes are in this. I think there's like a bit of a smoky or maybe a boozy note, but I think it's supposed to be like a smoky scent. I don't want to spray this on myself. Maybe I should just do it. Yeah, it smells just like kind of a wintry, but like indoors wintry scent, not like the woods. It smells like, basically it smells like a jazz club. I don't know why I'm explaining myself like that, but this has like, it had all the scent notes that I am really interested in. And when I first smelled this, it smelled amazing to me. I had a sample of this from a Sephora order that I made, and on the first like spray of this, I was so in love with it, and I was like, I need to have that right now. And I've never felt that way about any replica scent. Just for some reason, like, you know how some brands, they'll just like almost everything, sorry if you can hear the kids in the back, but just like everything that they release you love the smell of, and other brands it's the opposite. For me, Replica is like that, where I just like, there's always just something about their fragrances that I'm not interested in. But with this one, I was like, oh my gosh, that smells so good. And basically after the first spray of this, I immediately ordered it. I ordered this during the spring sale, the spring Sephora sale, which is why like I wanted to order it as quickly as I could before it sold out. But then by the time I finished the sample of this, and like this had already come to me, and I opened it and like threw away the packaging, so I couldn't really return it anymore. Or I couldn't return it and like it just goes back on the shelf. Like this would just be thrown away, and I don't like doing that. But anyway, by the time I got this and opened it up and finished the sample, I realized that there is a note that only comes out the longer that you wear this. And the closest thing that I could describe it to is, if you've ever smelled the Missing Person scent from Fleur, or if you've smelled the skin scent from Clean Reserve, that scent that's actually supposed to mimic the smell of like skin musk, that is also in this perfume. I don't know if it's on purpose or just like the scent notes combined to make that, but that comes out the longer that you wear this. And I know it's not just me, because that's never happened with any other perfume, and I don't smell like that naturally. But yeah, I figured that out by the time I finished the sample of this, and I do not like that smell. That note is one of the lighter notes in this perfume, so I can get away with wearing this if I layer it with other things. And particularly what I like to layer this with is either my other replica scent, the By the Fireplace, which is another one that I like almost on its own but not completely, so I do like to combine those. Or I combine this with my Mix Bar Vanilla Bourbon, which I love, but sometimes that is a tiny bit too sweet for me, so I like to mix it with something, so I can make this work. But I just wish I didn't have to make it work. Like, I want to just be able to wear scents on their own. So if I could return this, I definitely would. I think I just spent about 5 minutes talking about one thing, so I'm gonna speed it along. I separated these into eyes, lips, and face, but the first one that I want to talk about specifically, because it just has all three in it, are just all of my Natasha Denona products. That might make me sound like a hater, and I am a little bit. I no longer support the Natasha Denona brand just because, well, not just because, but mostly because of the brand ethics. But also, before I had taken a deep dive into the brand, I just was never impressed with the quality. And just really quickly, I have actually a lot of stuff from the brand, and some of it I've never used. Like, I have these two liquid shadows. One is Scarab and one is Infranude. I've actually never used these. They're still in the box. I think partly because I just stopped buying from the brand, so I don't really think about Natasha Denona anymore. But then also, like, I just have such a large collection that if I'm not super eager to use something, I'm just not going to use it at all. I'll just use something else. So I've never used these liquid shadows. I have this Chroma Crystal top coat. It's like a topper eyeshadow that's potted, and it's completely crumbled in here. I had one of these before that a friend gave to me. It was like the purple one, and she gave it to me because it was also crumbled inside, and she thought that it was just like broken, so she bought a new one and she gave the other one to me. But this exact same thing happened to the one that I bought brand new with my own money. So these are just like super dry and crumbly, and it's also not that great of a product. I have a $5 eyeshadow from Dose of Colors that does literally the exact same thing, has the exact same finish, and it's just a disappointing product for the price, which is kind of a common thing for the brand in general. I bought this lipstick. It's from the I Need a Nude collection in the shade Sammy. I bought it because that's what my grandma calls me, and it's spelled the same way as she spells it. But the way it actually looks on my lips is way different from what the swatches look like online. So I don't actually wear this. I just keep it because I paid for it and because it's sentimental. But I'm kind of over the whole makeup as like memories and sentiment thing, so I would totally give this back if I could get my money back for it. Then we have the eyeshadow palettes, which I've talked about this so much, so I'm not going to like go too in depth, but basically, in my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, but the Natasha Denona formula is so overrated. I feel like the only formula, just for me, in my opinion, that's very good is the cream to powder formula, but every cream to powder formula I've ever tried has been really good. In fact, I think the Sephora collection cream to powder formula was better. So the three palettes that I have are the Metropolis, I have the Baby Bronze, which is the most recent one, and then I have the Mini Star, which is actually what I'm wearing now. I'm wearing the two nude mattes and this like grungy gold shade. First of all, the blue here is just trash. I like don't use it unless I have to. Then the mattes, like the regular mattes and not the cream to powder ones, are so bad, and I'm not the only one who said it. Multiple other people have said they don't show up true to color, and they're like patchy and they fade away very quickly. And then like the other two, they're just metallics, and I feel like, why would I pay, at the time I paid $25, but now these are $27. Why would I pay $27 to have like just basic metallics that you could get from any like regular high-end brand for like 30 bucks for a full-size palette? Then I have the Baby Bronze, which is just like two more of their regular mattes, which again, I don't like the formula of. And then another basic metallic. And before I even used this, the very first time I opened up this packaging, it broke. One of the hinges broke off. So I feel like, why would I pay $19 for terrible packaging? Then I have the Metropolis, which is probably the one that I favor the most out of the three. But I mean, it's still nothing special because even at a discount, I paid over $100 for this. And it definitely wasn't worth it because I would say maybe there are like 10 cream to powders in here. And then 3 of the shades in here are actual dupes of other shades. You could take those 3 shades out of this palette and it would literally be the exact same palette. I even did swatches on my Instagram just showcasing those shades, but it's just like such a ripoff for what it is. I'm done talking about Natasha Denona for the rest of the video, I promise, but I would declutter all Natasha Denona if I could get my money back on that, and that is hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of product. The only other eye product that I have that's not a palette is my NYX Jumbo Stick or Jumbo Eye Pencil, and I do like these in general, but I feel like only the shimmer ones are worth it, because I originally got this is in the shade Black Bean, which is the black one, of course. I got this because I thought it would be a good eyeshadow base for when I was doing like black based multi-chromes, or if I wanted to put a black matte eyeshadow on top just to make it even more opaque. But these are not good bases, or at least this one specifically. The matte shadow sticks are very greasy, they don't set down, so it does not make for a good base. I did both times that I tried using this as a base, I just had really terrible creasing, and my eyeshadow usually does not crease. This also does not work as an eyeliner. It does not stay put at all in my waterline because, again, it's just kind of a greasier formula, which sounds gross, so I'm gonna stop saying that. But yeah, I haven't found a way to make this work, so I'm still gonna try my best until this expires on me to figure out some way to use it. And if you have any suggestions that aren't like as an eyeshadow base or an eyeliner, please let me know and I'll try that out. But yeah, I would definitely want to get my money back for this. Finally, I have the rest of my eyeshadow palettes and I'm gonna try to fly through these, but I have 2 ColourPop eyeshadow palettes, 9 pans, and this is the Wild Child. This is the Lucky Penny. As you can see, I've barely used the Wild Child. I haven't even taken off the mirror. And I've already decluttered 2 of the shades in here because one was a pressed glitter, which I don't like. One was a glitter with matte, which was that like really annoying, super powdery kickback formula that just got glitter in your eyes. So I decluttered both of those and I'm only left with 7 shades, and 2 of the shades are pretty much the exact same. So I may as well only have 6 shades in this entire palette. And then one of them is this really random warm tone shade. I have no idea why that's in here. I just feel like this was not a good shade selection for this palette, and if I'm gonna take out half of the shades in this palette, why would I even buy it in the first place? And then for Lucky Penny, this is just orange. It's not copper. Everything looks orange on me. Probably the only shade that doesn't actually look orange on me is this dark brown right here, and that's because it's a dark brown. I already have an all orange palette from ColourPop, which is the Big Poppy, and I'd rather keep that one just because it has better packaging. Like, I really love the cardboard packaging and the design. Even though that's an all matte palette, I can find orange shimmers elsewhere. I have plenty of oranges in my collection, as I recently found out the past few months with my No Pan Left Behind, so there was really no point in me getting this. Then I have the Sephora Southwest Sunrise. This was the first eyeshadow palette I ever bought myself, and at the time I really had fun with this, but this is just not even the current Sephora quality. Like, they've definitely stepped up their game with their current kind of like 7-pan palette layout that they have. So this is not even the current Sephora collection quality, but also just in general, this is not the type of quality or like the level of quality that I have pretty much throughout my eyeshadow palette collection. It's not the exact shade range that I would want out of a palette, so I would let this go if I could get my, I don't know, $7 back, but it's still usable, so I wouldn't get rid of it. Then I have my Milani Gilded Mini in the shade Whiskey Business, which is just an all matte kind of like nude palette. I bought this when I found out my I Love You a Latte palette, which has like a similar color story. That's one of those bite-sized quads from e.l.f. I bought this when I found out that one kind of went bad on me. And then I bought this just on a whim because I saw it one day on sale at Target, and it's fine and everything, like there's nothing wrong with it. But after like going through all the shades, I realized I had totally forgotten that I had a Dose of Colors palette, the Big Browns 2, which has all of these shades in here, so I did not need to buy this palette. So I would only get rid of it because I already have something similar in pretty much one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas. Then I have the Melt Brunette palette, which I kind of knew going into buying this that this might be like a hit or miss palette for me. I was very curious about the color story because I figured it was like a very simple color story, and no matter what I thought of it, because like Melt gets basically all of their palettes are either like really amazing quality or terrible quality, and I felt like this was the one palette that was sort of in between. Like most people were saying it was just average, so I felt like, okay, at least I don't think it'll be terrible quality, and because it's nudes and neutrals, like I know I could get some use out of it. So I kind of went into buying this palette with that mindset where like at least I won't have to declutter it if it's not a favorite. But of course it ended up being, sorry, my fingers are cracking. Of course it ended up being not a favorite, so I don't regret purchasing this because I had been so curious about this palette for so long, like 2 years when I bought this. So, you know, it just was a purchase that didn't work out. But knowing what I know now and having had the experience with this, if someone was to offer me my money back for it, I would hand this over. Finally, last palette is my Juvia's Place The Nubian palette, which is just a warm leaning, well, it's warm toned neutral palette. This was the first thing I ever bought from Juvia's Place. I was just very curious about the brand because I started getting into makeup in 2021, and at the time I did not know about any like black owned brands or brands that kind of catered to skin tones like mine or darker. And I noticed that Juvia's Place had like a very wide range of products, and I really was interested in buying a palette where I could actually use all of the shades, because up until buying this palette I didn't own a single palette that had shades or where all the shades worked for me. Like I didn't have to just say, oh, I won't use this lightest shade on me. So I was very intrigued by this, and I had a Target coupon. This was like very soon after Ulta entered Target, and I found this and I just took an opportunity to try this. It just, again, like the brunette palette, it didn't end up being a favorite. It's not my favorite color story in the end. I'm glad that I tried it again because I was very curious about this, but I think I've just grown out of this palette now, having all the palettes that I do have and finding brands and formulas that work for me and color stories that are best suited to me. This was just a purchase that I made way too early in my makeup experience, my makeup journey. Now onto face products, and the first one that I want to talk about, sorry this is loud, but the first one that I want to talk about is this Build Your Own palette from ColourPop. This was something that I just shouldn't have bought, but I had been wanting to for a while. Basically, I don't know if they still do this. You probably can, but don't do it, trust me. Basically, ColourPop has the option where you can build your own, I think you can do eye palettes as well, but they should for sure have build your own face palette where you can choose from, it's either like 4 or 6 bronzers, blushes, and highlights. This was last year in 2023 when I very first started getting into face palettes, just because I was traveling all the time and I hated having to bring all of my products. So I was like, I'm just gonna get a face palette that works for me, where I can just bring everything in one and have everything I need and don't have to think about it. Of course, not many brands create products for people with my skin tone or darker skin tones. So I thought building my own palette would be perfect. But the thing is, ColourPop does not really send PR to people. And this is something that I really don't like about ColourPop as well, which is why I don't purchase from them a lot anymore. ColourPop does not send much PR to people who have deeper skin tones, and they definitely weren't sending any PR with the shades that are offered for the Build Your Own palette. So I pretty much had to just go in blind and trust the swatches that were on their website if there were any, because sometimes there weren't any swatches. And I just had to trust the swatches that were on the ColourPop website for these shades. And of course, like, nothing was the same as how it was showed online. So almost everything was darker than it said. The only shade that was true to what it showed up as was the highlighter. Everything else is darker. So technically I could still use this palette, but I would just have to be very light-handed and very careful with everything. And I don't want to have to do that. Like, I want my makeup just to work for me. So I'm actually very disappointed in this. And other than swatching this, I haven't used this yet. On the topic of face palettes, I have two here. This one's the Maybelline Master Contour in the shade 20 medium to deep. And this looks fine in the pan, but the thing is, like, the blush in here is so glowy that you don't even need the highlight. So I just don't see the point of having both, like, a super glowy blush and a highlight in the same palette. This was definitely an impulse purchase, and again, this was around the time when I was first starting to get into face palettes, and this was one of the first ones that I saw that actually would work for my skin tone. I found this in store. I just think the 3 pans aren't necessary, and that thing alone just annoys me to the point where I kind of want to get rid of this. And then I have the Lorac Petite Pro in the number 2 shade. So this is for medium to deep skin tones. And what the heck is this? Like, this is supposed to be, I honestly don't know what it's supposed to be actually. It looked very different online. I think this is supposed to be like an under eye powder and then a like light contour and a dark contour, which I don't even know what that really means or what it's supposed to do. I haven't used this yet because I just don't know how I would use it or when I would use it, because first of all, if you're gonna give someone a contour that's this deep, why would you give them a face powder that's this light? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm gonna move on from that. Those products really frustrate me. Something else that was not true to color is this Essence Contouring Duo palette, also for deeper skin tones, but this thing was way too light for me. There was like, just like this, I don't get why brands do this. There was like a light contour and a dark contour, which doesn't make sense. Like, you should have one. Maybe it's for like summer and winter, but at that point I feel like just buy 2 separate products. I don't know, maybe I'm alone in that thought, but as you can see, there's nothing in here. I had to franken the 2 just to work for me because there was no way that the lighter one was ever going to work for me even at my most fair. So I have that frankened in another face palette, but I've never used it because I just like can't be bothered. Next is another Maybelline product, and this is the Fit Me blush in the shade 45, which is called Plum. And this is kind of just like my fault. I probably should have done more research into this. This was another impulse purchase. I just saw it in store and I thought, because of the name Plum, and because like if you just look at it kind of in a shadow, or at least like when I hold it like this. Okay, I just closed the window. Sorry if that was distracting you. I can't even remember what I was saying. But basically this is too light and cool tone for me. I'll give you a swatch too. Yeah, I swatched it right here and I don't even know if you can see that in the camera. This is so light and bright on me, and it's cool toned, so it kind of looks like a sickly wash of pale pink on my cheeks. If I use this, I have to mix it with something. It doesn't work on its own. Like, if I use this alone, it'll make me look like I have no idea how to do my makeup. So and I'm kind of annoyed because like in stores the lighting is terrible, so this looked a lot deeper than what it actually looks like when you open up the pan. So kind of my fault because it was an impulse purchase and I should know not to do that. Then I have the e.l.f. face powder foundation. This is the Camo powder foundation in the shade, I bought the shade medium 330W, and then I bought the other like medium warm shade that was one down from this because this is actually a Franken of the 2. The first one that I bought, the 330W, was way too dark, and then the one that was one shade lighter, literally, was way too light for me. So neither of them worked, even though they were just one shade off from each other. And I tried frankening them, and now, as you can see, it is still too deep for me. Here's what it looks like. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but that would be way too dark for me right now. I would have to be at my very deepest, and I didn't even get that much sun this summer, so there was a very short window for that. But there's just like not a good shade for me in this line, and going through all that trouble just to have it still not work for me, I would rather just have my money back for those two products. The last face product is a Kaja Bento. This is the Play Bento, like the face palette, in the shade 2 Cloud Latte. And this is just like not the best face palette in general. I really wanted this because it looked like a super cute compact palette that would actually work for my skin tone. But the thing is, like, the first of all, the highlighter has a glitter in it. Like, you can very clearly see chunks of glitter all over your cheek wherever you put the highlighter, which I don't like a glittery cheek. That already throws me off. But then also the highlighter and the bronzer, which, by the way, the bronzer is a cream product, which I didn't know going into it. I should have read the description, then I would have known. But I don't want cream products mixed in with my powder products. And the bronzer is not pigmented at all. I have to build this up so much for it to show on me, so that it just, like, I have pretty much a cake face wherever I put like my bronzer and contour. But then the bronzer or contour product and the highlighter are both cool toned. And then we have like a bright kind of springy blush that, like, I don't know, this definitely looks like it would be a better blush for spring, but the other two products are very much like cool toned winter products or shades, so I don't get why they would be in the same face palette together. I can still make these products work like individually, but I bought them to use as a set, so I'm really annoyed about them just like, first of all, the highlighter and the contour not being my favorite formulas in general, but the fact that I can't really use these all together, even though it's a face palette all together, that's just really annoying to me. Finally, we're at lips, and I don't have many to talk about relatively. The first ones that I'll talk about are my Maybelline Superstay ink crayons. I do like this formula. In fact, the reason why I bought so many of these, I have 5 in total. The reason why I bought so many of these is because the first one that I bought was this like deep kind of like burnt red slash berry kind of color. It was just like a vampy red, and I really liked the formula for it because it was super comfortable on the lips, but it also didn't budge and it lasted all day. So I was like, this is the perfect formula for lip crayon in general, but especially for this type of color that you don't want to move all around your face. So I ended up buying 4 more, but the problem is the outer packaging, like, no store I've ever been to has testers for these, so you can't actually see what they really look like. You just kind of have to go by the online swatches or the outer packaging, but the outer packaging is not true to color, which I didn't realize until after I bought 4 more of these, just like trusting the outer packaging, and they don't really show up true to color. This one is a warm brown that like almost looks orange on me when I wear it. It doesn't look super orange now, but when I put it on my lips, it looks very, very orange. This one is kind of like a light mauve, but it's, when I put it on my lips, it's almost too light for me. And then this one is a super like orangey bright red, and again, it's not going to show up swatch like this, but when I put it on my lips, it looks almost like this bright orange, which is just not flattering on me. The other one that I have is a dark brown, and it shows up very, very warm, but I can still use it. I make it work. But these 3, definitely, if I could get my money back on these, I would return them because they're not my favorite shades. I'll make them work, but I would rather not make my makeup work. In a similar vein, I have these Clinique Chubby Sticks. So originally I had these Super Strawberry shade, and I love that one. I love it so much. It's a repurchase. I'm on like my 3rd tube of it. I think it was maybe 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago now. Sephora was having like a 50% off sale or something on the Clinique Chubby Sticks. So I ended up buying 3 more shades. This one is in Mega Melon, this one is Graped Up, and this one is Bountiful Blush. And again, I just went by the swatches online, but these look nothing like the swatches. And even though I can make them work because they're all pretty sheer, they're just not my favorite lip product. And the formula is not the best either because it's not even like I can just wear these as like a nice comfortable lip balm, because if you leave these on too long, they're actually drying. So I kind of just have to make them work as like my lipstick for the day. And yeah, they're not my favorite. Speaking of the Clinique Chubby Stick Super Strawberry, that is one of my favorite, and in fact one of the only pink lip products that works on me. And a while ago, maybe like a few years ago, for some reason, I can't remember what prompted this, but I thought that shade was being discontinued. So I ended up going on a hunt for a replacement for Super Strawberry, and I ended up stumbling across these Revlon, they're like basically chubby sticks. They're the Revlon Kiss Bombs, and I bought 3 different shades to see which one could be closest to the Super Strawberry shade. First of all, I never even ended up finding a shade dupe out of all 3 of these pink chubby or like chubby stick type lip crayons. Never found a color dupe, but also the formula is way different, and I think just I assumed that the formulas in this type of product would all be the same, but they're definitely not. These ones do that thing where they leave kind of like that ring of dried up crusty product all around your lips if you wear them for too long. So I've put all 3 of these in the Project Flush Them Out, so I've worn them down to where they're under the packaging, but I literally was just wearing all 3 of them as lip balms, and it would make my lips look so gross. So I can use them as lip balms, but I would prefer to just use like a regular lip balm that has no color instead of kind of just using these just to get through them, and I want my money back. The last product that I have to talk about is something that I'm sure you've literally never seen before, and these are the Sephora Collection Lip Jelly Stains. I found these in 2021 when I first created my Sephora account. I bought this, or I bought one of these. By the way, I have 7. This is back when I was collecting makeup. I bought one of these because I thought it was a lip gloss, and then I found out it was a lip stain, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let me buy like 3 more. And then I got 3 more, and then I was like, let me actually just buy all of them. The thing is, I don't use these. In fact, 2 of them I haven't even taken out of the packaging, and these are 3 years old. I probably should get rid of them because they're like liquid lip stains, but they still smell the same, so I'm sure they're fine. I'll get rid of them if they smell bad. But I just don't use lip stains like I thought I would 3 years ago when I first started getting into makeup. Again, it's kind of like the Juvia's Place palette where like I've outgrown these in my collection and I just don't use them. And if I do use them, it's because I've put them in a project to force myself to use them because I've been neglecting them. In fact, literally all of these have dust on the tops of them. I just wish I could get my money back for them because I neglect them. There's no point in having them. But that is it for this video. It's been a really long one. I have a lot of regrets. I have a lot of poorly made decisions in the form of impulse purchases and collector's mentality. And I have a lot of brands that did me dirty, like ColourPop. I'm looking at you with the face palette and those eyeshadow palettes that I had to take half the shades out of. And I mean, by now we all know how I feel about Natasha Denona, but this was all of the products that I don't like hate enough to get rid of, but if I could get my money back for them, I would do it in a heartbeat. Or if anyone who I knew in person ever asked me for literally any of these products, I would give it to them in a heartbeat as well. I'm not attached to any of these. I'm just gonna try to get through them as much as I can before they expire. But hopefully I never have to do this video again. Hopefully I don't make any bad purchases in the future. But let me know what you think about these, if you have any ideas for how I can make these work, or if you have some similar purchases where if you would return them you could to get your money back, you would. Again, please check out Steph. I'll have at least one of her videos linked below, and I'll also have her channel linked below. But thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, I hope you have a great day. Bye.